Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast, where I, 3-Gun Kenzie, will be interviewing competitive shooters, hunters, fishermen, archers, entrepreneurs, and outdoorsmen. Come learn with me as I interview people from all walks of life, in different disciplines, all across the world, from novices to professionals of all ages. No matter what, everyone has something they can teach you, so come join me on the journey. Welcome back to the Reticle Up podcast. I'm here with my buddy, Scheel. He is the inventor of the Scheel roller delayed buffer system. He shoots PCC, dabbles a little bit in open, but we're going to talk about that today. So, Corey, how are you?
Doing great.
Last time I saw you, you weren't as wintered up here. You have a full beard.
Yeah, I not too bad. I don't know. Yeah, I fluctuate with the seasons.
I like it. Yeah, because you guys are getting snow right now.
Yes, it's like almost knee deep, and there's a big one coming. I went grocery shopping this morning because looks like I'm going to be snowed in.
Yeah, for a few days, for sure. So when did you first start shooting PCC? Was that first, or did you shoot something else before?
So, I saw some like Shooting USA, USPSA, probably Jerry Michalik, and said, oh, I want to do that. And my dad said, hey, my buddy at the coffee shop does that at the Sportsman's Club locally. So, so he hooked me up, and I went there to a match without knowing, like I knew there's this guy that had a big beard and mustache, and just kind of went and looked for, hey, are you Jim? Yeah, I'm Jim. Hey, I'm Corey, And so I had a CZ75 that was fit and limited, and so I shot that for a year or so. And as soon as I shot my first match, I was kind of like hooked and in with the group that ran the match.
Yeah.
Jim was good friends with them, and I just kind of got in with them. We all became friends. I ended up helping set up, and so that's kind of how the first summer went, anyways. Was that. And so going into the winter, we shoot an indoor match, which is one stage. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times people bring rimfire guns and just anything to shoot, just so they could shoot a couple times. And so I decided PCC sounded like it'd be fun. I could build one myself and take it there and have a second gun to shoot. And as soon as I did, I was all PCC. I've been, have been since. That's my division in USPSA. And it's because I won, all of a sudden I went from being C-class limited to winning in PCC, and and been there ever since. That was probably 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yeah. So did you get crap from the club for just shooting a pistol for a year and switching over to a rifle?
No, I mean, everyone gave me a little bit of shit, but whatever. Everyone wants to shoot everything. So, and I was winning, so whatever. I don't care.
I like it. Oh man. So yeah, I know like you said you built your own and stuff. What were your frustrations, with the PCC that led you to even invent the roller delayed buffer system you came up with?
So like an Ar9 is generally just, it's not, they just kind of said, how can we make a 9mm fit in this chassis that we already have? And as soon as they came up with a way to do it, blowback worked, and it worked. And so that's what's been the standard for years. But there's just a huge amount of room for development there. And I just kind of looked at some other designs, the MP5, and said, there's a way to do this, and I can do this in at first I was like, what's the cheapest thing I can cut on my gun? I don't want to ruin a receiver set. The buffer tube, I'll start there, and went from there. And then it was like, oh, now this can be an add-on to everyone else's gun. And so it was. I don't know. To get back to your question, there's just a lot of problems with the Ar9 system in general. Yeah, it relies on a brick for a bolt and a heavy buffer, and then an even heavier spring behind it to hold everything locked up. And I just thought there's a better way to do it, because once it's unlocked, it doesn't need all of that spring. It doesn't need all of that weight. And just kind of, there's other guns doing it other ways, and there's a way to make this do it that way.
Right. Yeah. So like when you took it all apart and stuff, like how did your brain even come up with this idea? Had you heard about roller delayed systems before, or just I don't even know how someone comes up
Oh,
with that.
I'm a very I'm a curious person. I'm on YouTube reading how does this gun work or that, or how does an air conditioning work, whatever, just something. I just keep, I'm mechanically inclined and I just keep going. And so when I got into the guns and the shooting, the go fast guns, it was natural to just kind of tear it apart, figure out how to make it better. And it was really when I got into my open gun that I started realizing how we can make one spring, like the hammer spring, work versus the recoil spring, and how to tune that. That I really got to thinking about how I could make that work with the PCC as well.
Interesting. So I know, like, I mean, I have a background in entrepreneurship, and we always teach people to prototype, their design. So did you hand draw it? Did you sketch it? Like, what did you do to even come up with that design?
Started cutting on metal. Honestly, I said, I can.
It's
I
cheap.
figure
It's
out
a
how to
buffer
make this
tube.
work. And I thought, okay, so this is an aluminum tube. It's going to wear out immediately, but I need to test the theory. So I cut an aluminum tube. Turns out they don't wear out. Who would have thought? I was immediately like, this is the first thing that everyone asks. How's the aluminum tube not wear out?
Yeah.
And I thought immediately I'm going to have a steel tube made, but I can test the idea. I can, and with the aluminum tube. And so that's what I went with. And turns out it's fine. So I just started playing in my machine. I've got a tiny little machine shop down here, a little mill, a little lathe, and I started cutting on metal and making something that I thought would work, and took it to the indoor match because there's snow everywhere, and it worked. And I broke a few parts and I tried a few iterations, but pretty soon I had something that worked and ran pretty well.
Did you keep this to yourself, or did people know that you were like tinkering?
The core group at my club that I helped set up. So we go and we're there for hours setting stages and talking, and we're all good friends. And so they're all people I know and can trust. And so they all knew about it right from the get go. They saw the first iteration to once I finally had something that was working. And everyone's, my group of 4 or 5 knew about it.
Yeah. And then what did they think? Were they behind it? Were they intrigued? I mean, supportive?
A lot of them had the same things. Oh, the aluminum's going to break. That it's not worth it. You got ITAR law, all this stuff to deal with. A lot of people, not that they weren't behind me, but they all brought up different concerns that I should probably look at.
Yeah, no, it's good. Getting feedback is actually really helpful. And then did you learn CAD system? Like, how did you end up? Yeah.
Well, okay. So once I had a design, it was like, now what am I going to do? I need to have machine shops. I can't make these myself. It took me 30 hours to make the first prototype.
Oh, geez.
And you could get 29 hours in and turn the knob the wrong way on a manual machine and ruin it. And so, like, I can't make these by hand. I need to have a CNC shop do this, and I need to get estimates or quotes. And so to do that, I have to have like a 3D file to do that. And do I look to my friends that I might have a couple in the industry and pay them, or, learn some software? And it's not, very technical part. You have to know the dimensions. And so I spent a couple days snowed in February learning Fusion 360, which is like an AutoCAD software.
Yep. And
once I had the parts, I was able to then go get estimates from machine shops, and also use those drawings towards the patent. And so it all kind of worked out in my favor to learn that Fusion 360.
Heck yeah, it did. Now, most businesses too, like they require like minimums, for small businesses to manufacture, make a mold or what have you, right? So were you able to like negotiate, or was it pretty simple to find that machine shop that would take that order?
I just went to each shop and said, can you give me a price with this quantity, and this quantity, not knowing how fast this is going to ramp up and what the pricing even would look like. I had no idea what this was going to cost. And so everyone came back to me, and I found a shop that had, decent price. It seemed like a huge risk at the time to throw, it was a few $1,000s in machine parts, along with I had to have springs custom wound and stuff like that. But just the big bite was the machine parts, and to just be like, okay, I'm going to roll the dice, and we're going to buy 60 of these and see if we can sell them. And turned out to be the best move I made.
That's pretty cool. So you were building this for yourself, and then you kind of, I don't know, was it planned to have a business out of this, or was this really you trying to fix the system and realize other people want it too?
I've always had like entrepreneurial spirit, and I sold stuff on eBay during like the Fast and Furious, soup up your Honda Civic days, and I was always in that, like, whatever the niche was of the time, or what I kind of. I used to drag race, so all of a sudden now I'm making parts for drag racing and selling parts, or parting out motorcycles because I was into motorcycle. I turned my hobbies into businesses, or at least side businesses.
Yeah.
And
for now.
Yeah, and so for now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, can you explain your system? So for people that are listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, I highly recommend you go watch this part. Can you show us how it works, like what the functionality is?
Okay, so I've got it's actually a cutaway on this side. You can just see the spring. But this is a normal buffer tube. And we've got our pockets here. And so here is the buffer. We've got arms with rollers on it, and there are pockets for springs to go inside. And so those springs push the arms outward, and those interface with the holes. Oh, get something behind it. There's a hole in this that these rollers interface with, and so basically they're acting as like a detent, and they're locking up. So right now it's really hard to push, and then all of a sudden it lets go, and we've got a 5-pound spring. So, and this is all tunable. This is just one weak spring in here, and you've got 3 pockets, and I've got different springs. It gets much stiffer than this. This is just kind of my demo setting. Mm-hmm. But so you can change your lockup to anything from, 0 pounds, or, well, I guess it'd be 5 pounds because this spring that's in here is 5 pounds, to 50 pounds, all depending on your settings and how you have it set up.
That's cool.
So your typical recoil spring in your regular PCC is a 15 to 18 pound spring. It's about this thick. And what we run is this one above here, which is a 5-pound spring, much thinner. And we're also able to take a lot of weight out of the buffer and the bolts as well. There's a removable weight in most 9mm bolts. And so we remove that. And altogether, it's able to reduce recoil and reduces the muzzle rise, the amount of blowback coming through the action. There's a lot of benefits to this.
Yeah, and now, people shoot anything from 115 to 147, so it's tunable based on your loads, too.
Oh, yeah, and, there's people with Steel Challenge that don't have any power factor, and then there's people who are shooting maybe 3-gun and want to have a little more than 125 because they've got some steel they've got to knock over that could be shotgun or pistol steel or PCC. So, this is completely adjustable to your load, and that's the biggest benefit to it is you tune it exactly to your load. Cool. Tune your gun to your load, tune your load to your gun, vice versa.
Yeah. Now, I played with it a little bit. What do you typically see? There's 4 holes, right, in between the springs or in the arms?
So there's 4 holes, but one is down by the pin, so we don't really use the one down at the very pivot. Mm-hmm. it doesn't have enough pressure on the arm to make any difference.
Yeah.
So it's really the 3 holes from the tip to the pin that we're using.
And you've got different spring weights, the tiny springs, lightweight, heavyweight, and you just figure out basically the sequence you want.
Right. And depending on between the 3 springs or 3 holes and 2 different spring settings, as well as we have 2 different recoil springs you can use, a 5-pound and a 3-pound. There's 100 or more settings that you could possibly have. I've tried probably 10 different settings, so I don't know. There's plenty in between, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I totally got the taste for it at nationals, which is really cool. Getting to actually shoot it, and that's the hardest part, right? Like, it's really hard for people to understand the value or see it. And there's everything in the gun industry. I feel like I just have to put something in somebody's hands, and then you're like, oh, got it. You know what I mean? Done with that. So like I've switched out, and for a dummy like me to be able to figure out how easy that system is to be tunable, that was helpful. Like, if I can do it, other people can do it.
It's simple because it doesn't need to be complicated. We don't need to have a wedge that drives these rollers sideways, or it's just spring pressure equals lockup, and you can tune it that way. And it doesn't need to get as complicated as some of the systems make it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, when did you first put the buffers like on sale on a website or talking to friends? Like, what was that day or year even?
So at first I wanted to make sure they worked. Yeah. I was afraid, we're going to have some problems. This is, right here. So you could potentially hurt yourself if something breaks. And, and I had I have a regular 9-to-5 job. And so I didn't need to sell these. And so my friends wanted them. And so I said, well, and primers being what they were to find to come by, it was like, I need to have 20,000 rounds through these before I sell them, is what I said to myself. I said, it doesn't all have to be on the same buffer, because that'll be about impossible. But if my friends want them, I don't want to say that I was using them, but you
need testers.
They wanted to shoot them, and they had primers. And so I gave 2 or 3 or 5 systems to different people. And we got to that 20,000 round mark a lot quicker because of that. Yeah. And I didn't have to use I had a few primers on the shelf, but I didn't have to use them up.
That'd be a lot of money.
Then I was able to prove it. And I think like 1st of May was when was just like the date that I had in mind. I was waiting on the right springs to come back. I had a couple springs come in from my spring manufacturer that weren't exactly what I wanted, and back and forth. And so all of a sudden everything came in, and beginning of May, I was ready to sell them, and I had 2 or 3 guys waiting for them. So that was
2020?
Exciting.
2021?
Just this past year, so 2021.
Okay, yeah. Now, let's back up. Actually, I totally forgot, and I shouldn't have. Testing. So when you say 20,000 rounds, I'm curious, do you remember like the types of PCCs that you put them through, like different JPs or PSAs, or what kind of PCCs that they went in?
So my gun was a New Frontier lower, which is like a Palmetto, same thing.
Yep.
Build. A couple of like TACCOM builds with like the lightweight barrels and the lightweight setups. I think they were on Gibbs lowers. One's a left-handed person, so he shoots Gibbs stuff. Okay. But it was kind of on. I'm trying to remember what Anthony shot. He shoots a lot of Code Evolution parts, but I think it's just kind of on a custom build as well.
Yeah, his is totally a hodgepodge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was just like 4 custom builds. They were all different from each other, but we all had the same buffer and we had different loads. It was just a really good kind of sample of, and they were all like M-class shooters or so, something around me, because I was an M-class shooter at the time as well. And just all kind of us guys that pushed each other around the state of Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super.
Kind of like a little bit of everything. I've put a lot on JPs. It seems like JP rifles are what I like, the GMR 13 and 15. Seems like I swap a lot onto those. I'm sponsored by DaVinci, and so we sell a gun with it already on there, a factory gun. But I've converted a few DaVincis, but pretty much everything else has been just kind of custom builds. That seems to be the norm in the PCC stuff in my area, anyways. Is everything's just kind of home built stuff.
For the people that know how to tinker, it's a hodgepodge. I built one and it was just not fun for me. So I ended up just buying, and they work. They work now. Yay. Except for when you crack a firing pin in half at nationals on a stage.
You know, I don't know what to say about firing pins. I've been lucky, you know, knock on wood. I've never had an issue. I've actually pulled a bolt out of a gun and had a broken firing pin in it. Mm-hmm. It was working.
Lucky.
So, yeah, lucky. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up, but
no, it's so true.
And it wasn't my gun. It was a friend's gun that I was actually converting. It was a JP. And it seems like there was a batch of bad firing pins, right. And they show up. I don't know. I've been lucky.
So lucky. Oh man. Okay, so 2021 May, which is super recent. Do you remember the first time a stranger, so not a friend, family, or someone you knew, bought the buffer system?
Yes. It was one of my testers, a good friend, another Corey Katz. One of his buddies was waiting, like in line, waiting for it. And so as soon as the springs came in, he got it, and he was one of the first people to have it.
Neat.
And kind of a funny story. So I bought a batch of hats, 100 hats. I thought I should get embroidered hats, and I can give them out, and that'll help me sell these. And so the hats came in before the right springs came in. So like, I'm not ready to sell anything yet, but I'm ready to give hats out. Mm-hmm. And kind of the cart before the horse.
I like it.
But so I gave him a hat when he bought it. And it was this guy named Jerry Eccles from Cleveland. And so Jerry is into go-karts. He races go-karts. And my best friend, and probably he used to live with me. We were just really good friends, and also races karts. And he ran into him, and he had a Scheel manufacturing hat, like the only one that I'd given out. And he's like, "How do you have that?" And they figured out how they knew each other. It was just kind of funny. Small world.
Super small world. Jesus.
Yeah, the only one I'd given out, of my best friend in the world, spotted.
Was he betrayed when he found out?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I only have so many, and Andy doesn't shoot. He doesn't know anyone in the shooting industry. Right. You don't need a hat. You're not going to sell any for me.
That's hysterical. Oh my God.
No, now Andy has hats, and his kids have hats, and
Yeah, taken care of now. But what was that feeling like when a stranger bought it, not someone you knew?
Nervous. Very, I felt like it was overpriced, which I was barely above cost. And, you still feel like you're just, how can this thing cost this much?
Right.
And nervous that it wasn't going to be up to his expectations. It's a recoil reduction device in PCC, which isn't known for being like crazy recoil. It's not a shotgun. So it's really someone that's searching for that last 10% or so. It's not for everyone. And I realize that. And so for it to, be worth his while I wasn't sure yet if he was going to be happy or not.
Yeah.
And it was great. And he gave me great feedback and helped me along the line. So he had the first version of the instructions, which was like 2 lines long, and he didn't understand it. So, I've rewritten that 3 or 4 times, and I'm sure it's still not adequate, but it's good enough. And I'm always just a phone call or an email away.
So they were helpful, but my dumbass totally actually got pliers out and put the spring in at the very front where you're talking about, where you don't really use it. So
okay.
I did that. But what's funny is, like, you should just send it to a dumbass like me that has no manufacturing skills, has no clue to test the instructions. Females will be really good at that feedback.
And, and when I was this goes back to the CAD. I didn't really know what I was doing on the CAD, and I said, well, there might be room here for 4 spring pockets instead of 3. So I added a 4th pocket, and either way, it's just a hole inside of it. It takes a little weight away if you can't do anything. It's not like it doesn't change the design. But it turns out the 4th hole is not needed.
Yeah, that was really funny. I figured it out later, but that was me being silly. Now, for entrepreneurs, how important is it for people that you don't know? I go back to that stranger, right? It's like a sense of validation when somebody that you don't know purchases it saying, hey, I don't know you, I believe in the product, or I like the product, or I've seen it, right? How important is that for you to just keep going?
Oh, I wouldn't be, absolutely. I wouldn't have ordered my second batch of parts had I not had the I love this thing, this is great response from people. And honestly, a third of my sales are resells, like our sell, second and third systems to the same person.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
a backup to a backup to a backup.
I need to get the word out more, because that's the bottleneck. I think it's just, it's in its infancy still.
Yeah. So when we talk about adoption rates, and even technology with phones, you have your early adopters, like your friends or the people that know you, right? And they're on board. And then it's got to take that brand recognition or that education for the rest of the community to kind of catch up. Do you feel like it's getting closer to that wave?
I hope, I had really good response at Nationals. That was one of the best things from PCC Nationals, was just the overall response that I got. At the awards banquet, I was able to look out and see 15 or 20 people with Scheel manufacturing hats on. And that was exciting. I didn't place nearly where I thought I would. But my focus was really on the business as far as much more than being a competitor. So, in that aspect, it was a success.
Now, for people that don't know, you had a table at Nationals, and you set it for the four-ish days in there.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. So through my sponsor, DaVinci, who was also selling my buffers, they were a sponsor of Nationals, and they had a booth and a table and everything. And when I got there, they said, hey, would you like to take, or I guess this was probably before I got there, they said, would you like, we can clear you an area on the end of the, and you can sell your stuff. And absolutely, because it's expensive to have a table at Nationals. And I felt kind of bad that I was kind of piggybacking on DaVinci, but they paid their way in, and they offered. So I'm very grateful to David and everyone at DaVinci for that. And it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, working in entrepreneurship, if those people aren't willing to help entrepreneurs or give them a little space, or even if you think about food businesses, right? They have to be in that certified kitchen or whatever, commercial kitchen, so it can't be out of their home. There are kitchens out there, I bring this up because it's so silly, but related, that will donate the nighttime space for entrepreneurs to come use the kitchen when it's not in use, right? So it puts them in business. And that little step up can potentially grow a business massively. That's huge.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for DaVinci for letting me do that. They brought me a table even. I showed up with a couple banners and some stuff to sell. And they had a table for me to set stuff on, and it turned out to be just a fantastic thing.
Super cool. Now, how did y'all get hooked up in the first place, you and DaVinci?
So my good friend through shooting, Mike Seifert from New Jersey, he's a Grandmaster PCC shooter, and we've just over the last few years shot a lot of matches together and became good friends. Stayed at the same hotels, and we stayed in the same Airbnb at Nationals this year. And but he's a DaVinci shooter, and so he was one of the first people to have one of the buffer systems that wasn't necessarily I test it and try and destroy it tester. It was the people around here that I wanted to kind of keep it. I didn't want someone to break it in because I thought it's going to break. This is just the first iteration. I just made these things. Something's going to break. The tube's going to wear out. That's what I thought was going to happen. And so I want this to be just local people that know that I'm just testing. And I didn't want to send one to New Jersey and have it break before I even sell them and get bad publicity.
Right.
So once they were proven, Mike got one of the first ones to help me sell them. Okay. He was one of the guys that's like, you can put this on, put this on your gun. I think he was shooting a JP at the time. He had just switched to Da Vinci. That's what happened, was he had just got sponsored by Da Vinci over the winter. And so he put it on the Da Vinci and loved it.
Cool. Very cool.
And so told the guys at Da Vinci, you need to check the system out. And so they started selling a few. He went to a big match. He shoots a lot of IPSC matches. So he went to like Aruba or somewhere like that. And everyone, Da Vinci did like a little dog and pony show off the guns. Mm-hmm. And everyone shot the guns. And when they got to Mike's gun, they were like, this feels different. What's And so I've got a lot of people in Aruba that like the system. And so
are you shipping internationally?
I am now. I am. First through Da Vinci when they were selling guns into Aruba, but now Shooters Connection is selling my products, so they're shipping all over the world. So, anyways, Da Vinci started selling, or people in Aruba really liked it, liked the Da Vinci, and so Da Vinci started selling the parts. And a month or two into that, David said, hey, why aren't you shooting a Da Vinci? Let me send you a gun. And, and so it was right at the same time I made Grandmaster. I don't know if one influenced the other, or I didn't have I don't know if like me making Grandmaster made David say, oh, let me send you a Da Vinci. But I like to think that had to do with it. But,
there you go.
I earned it.
That's so cool. Yeah. No, their guns are amazing. I mean, and Brian has one in his little travel trailer, with Hunter's HG Gold. So that's neat. People can borrow those too. So if people want to shoot a Da Vinci, Brian will lend his out.
I love mine. I've got mine right here, and I didn't realize what I was missing. I had palmetto builds that work, and mine worked better than most. And but the fit and finish on the Da Vinci is really kind of above it. I didn't realize what I was missing until I got one.
Yeah,
and I love the side charger too. I didn't think I needed a side charger, but I love the side charger.
Yep. No, those are super beneficial. I got to put one on my AR-15 actually. I keep meaning to do that because they are legit. And then I'm sidetracked again, but like Dissident too with their shotguns, they even do it on a semi-auto, a left-hand charging handle. So it's spicy.
Okay.
I like it.
I mean, you can prop your gun nice on a table. So like even just picking it up, it's easier.
Which is so cheating for unloaded table starts for you guys.
I mean, you should never need to really rack it on the clock unless it's an unloaded start or something like that. Yeah. But it's handy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That's the unloaded starts. Yep. Now, going back to like shooters, getting the word out and stuff, there are people that find a lot of value in like the ambassadors and sponsored shooters or what have you. And then there are some like drawbacks to that, I'm sure as well. But how has that kind of helped get the word out in different areas of the country?
It goes back to like Mike and Corey. I mean, my first sale was a friend of Corey, and he said, "What I'm going to build a new PCC. What should my build list include?" And Corey Katz came out and said this, and the Scheel buffer system. And so I went to my first sale was an ambassador, and I mean it's just been great. And some of the ambassadors come along, and it's funny. They buy two systems at full price. You don't know who they are. You've never heard from them. They just order them on the website, and it's, a nice order comes through, and you ship them. And then you talk to them on the phone, and they're like, oh, hey, I've been beating the snot off everyone. I'm the local GM, and I got 20th place at Nationals last year, and I don't know why you haven't heard of me, but, my name's Isaac Hansen, and so I'd love to just try to sell all your product, just like, holy cow, and so ambassadors come along all different ways, some of them end up being a customer that just all of a sudden I'm sending as many T-shirts and hats and stuff to as I can. It's like, yes, you're on the team.
I love
and
it.
others are, people I've known for years.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
Yeah, no, it helps. Social media helps to get, again, those people, the people that don't travel to matches, these people go back to those places and can kind of spread it locally too. That's kind of a benefit, because we travel and kind of know each other, but yeah.
And that's what I think is a benefit that a lot of people so it's expensive to sponsor matches, and you might not see it in sales while you're at the match. You're going to get X amount of sales and it costs you X amount to be a sponsor at that match. But everyone that was there is going to go back and they're going to tell their friends, Hunters HD, Da Vinci, and Scheel Manufacturing were the only 3 people that had tents at the match.
Yeah.
And even if you weren't there, your local people are going to know that, hey, you're stepping up and you're the one that was there, and it's gonna result in sales later on, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a sacrifice that too. I know even Leif, when he was working limited open, he was like, I shot terribly, but business was good. So I guess that's how nationals are going to go now. So you had a similar, experience.
Absolutely. The same exact thing. Yeah. And I've learned now that I need to focus on like shooting with my friends as opposed to so a couple years ago, I decided, I'm not squatting with the best people. I need to start really focusing on sign-up day, squatting on, getting on the good squad, shooting with other M's and G's, and so I can follow their stage plans and try and be there at the end of the day. And so that's what I did all year this year. And I got on squads with people I didn't know. But I mean, I shot with, Justine and these people that just, whooped me all year long, and I felt bad. I got to know them all, but Brian Harrington, all these people, I was like, here, I'm going to go shoot with him. I'm going to go get spanked by him. And that's basically what my year turned into. And I learned I put too much pressure on myself. I need to go shoot with my friends, have fun, and I do much better when I do that.
Oh yeah. Now, are you one of those people, and I kind of do this a little bit, are you one of those people that when you watch somebody shoot in front of you or one of the GMs, that you're competing with, and then you try to push it or do what he did and instead of playing your game?
I don't know that I push to them as much as I don't know. That's hard to answer. I at nationals this year, I ran around like my hair was on fire. I shot over targets, around targets, shot the nose shoots right under. I did not shoot my game. Normally my game is 5 seconds slower than the guy ahead of me, but more alphas. And that's not what I did at nationals, and it shows. I don't know. I pushed too hard, and I didn't have anyone around that I knew how to judge off of, and it showed.
Yeah. Now, you shot the main match for PCC and then the RO match for Open, is that right?
Yes. I wanted to, focus on shooting PCC, which of course all I did was focus on selling PCC parts. and then when it came time to shoot for the RO match, I was just like, we're just here for fun. And I had a blast shooting with the ROs for Open, and I did better than I thought I would, much better than I thought I would. So, and that really taught me the lesson: go for fun, and you'll do better than you think.
It's easy to say that, though. It's so easy to say that, go for fun. Then when it rolls around, you've got pressure and you're nervous, excited, and then you got to carry that mental game. I don't really have that locked down yet. Yeah.
Me neither.
So what were your goals actually for either PCC or Open? I'm assuming focusing on PCC. What were your goals going into that?
So I got 26th place last year, 2020. Okay. And that was my first nationals. And so I was like, okay, if I can get 26th again, maybe I could make the team for the IPSC World Shoot. This is the thought, because there aren't many people that were, and this is last year I talked to Mike Foley. He was like, how are you going to determine who makes the team?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be the average, and who knows if this is it. And of course, the world shoot just keeps getting pushed further and further out too. So like when I was doing good a couple years ago, those matches don't count. But so that was my goal, 26 or better. Which I ended up in the mid 50s, so not nearly where I thought. But
sure.
So last year, COVID, I think, kept a lot of people from going to nationals.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people have stepped up their game since last year too.
Oh yeah.
PCC has gotten to be a serious division where it's kind of a joke for a while.
It's fun. It's really fun. I didn't know until I picked up one. I was like, crap. I get it now. You can actually go fast with it. Super fun. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's what makes open cool. I tried switching between limited and PCC and shooting 3-gun. You go back to an iron sight pistol, and my sight focus to target focus, to dot focus, and all of that. I said I need to have something with the same dot on it.
Yeah.
That's my second division. So that's why I started shooting open. And my goal for open was just first, I didn't think I would make nationals. I didn't think there was any way for me to get a spot in nationals if I didn't work it.
Right.
So I was like, I'll just volunteer to work. That way, at least they can shoot it. And my goal was to not DQ because I was afraid of running around with that 1.5 pound trigger right here and right next to my head. And, I was just like, just keep things safe and don't DQ.
You had fun at open. You shot really well with an open gun. Really well. Yeah. Oh yeah. Shrugging. Yeah. Whatever.
I don't know.
What were your favorite stages in both matches?
So this is 4 months ago now. Mm-hmm. So so for the PCC match, I really liked the suitcase stage. Just 30-pound ammo can, and there was no stage planning to it.
No.
There was no, how are you going to do it? Everyone's standing around. How are you going to do the ammo can stand? And my buddy's like, I'm going to pick the thing up. I'm going to swing it. And I'm going to shoot it. What do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's exactly right. You're just going to just do it. There's no way to plan it. You just do it.
Yep.
And so I had a lot of fun for that. Of course, I shot around targets and ran past stuff and, went way too fast. But that was my favorite PCC. And open, I have no idea what was. I don't remember stages that well. And I don't remember how I did on stages either. We shot 9 stages a day. Well, actually, we shot more than that the first day because we tried to push further.
Didn't we do 11 and 9? 11? No, yeah, you're right. Maybe I don't remember how many there were. 11 and 7, maybe. Yeah, it was dumb.
Yeah, it was just a lot. I don't know. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what stage was my favorite. Not the weekend.
No.
That weekend reload weekend. Especially with me being nervous, that trigger and everything. I was like, no, I shot that 2 weekends in a row prior to that. At 2 different matches, set that same exact stage. And so I had some practice. And I just, just got to watch and keep your finger out of the trigger.
Yeah.
My housemate down there that rented the house and I rode home with, he bumped the trigger, is like the meat of his finger, bumped the trigger and set it off. And so that was the end of his nationals. And so that was a bummer.
I didn't know that. At all.
Yeah.
Well, those were the two worst.
That stage is a tough one. I mean, he shot it 2 weekends in a row beforehand. So this happened.
Yeah, it does. I mean, those were the 2 worst stages I think that we got to start on. Were the 2 short courses, the one that the activator wouldn't turn and the stupid cord wouldn't work, and then you had to shoot that. That sucked for the start of the match.
Yeah.
Got hosed. Gosh, have you shot 2-gun at all?
So our local 3-gun match has a 2-gun division, but I'm like, why am I not just shooting tac ops? So when I go, I shoot tac ops because I like shooting shotgun. I'm good at shooting shotgun. Not good at loading shotgun, but I can get through it. And so no, to keep the answer short, no, I haven't. I wanted to shoot Max's 2-gun nationals last year,
Yeah.
but it was the same weekend as the Buckeye Blast, which was like the debut level 2 match for the buffer system. And so, and it was Ohio. It's 2 hours away from my house.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to do it that year, and I think it's the same weekend this year. So
damn.
I want to. It's my 2 divisions open in PCC, but no.
You might need to make a sacrifice just to go, because I think that's your game.
I think so too. I really do. I'm a stage sponsor for Buckeye Blast this year, so I'm gonna be there trying to sell stuff at a table, and it'd be really hard to go. But if it was on the East Coast like it was last year, I probably would.
Yeah.
But I can't just like make a half-day trip or a day trip driving from one to the other and make both matches the same weekend, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, yeah, so you and I RO'd, which was super, super duper fun. That's a long time on the range, because I think we were there sun up, sundown, through the rain. Oh my God. Yeah. It's too much to shoot that many stages too in one day. And if you're doing a bad job on one day, you keep going.
Yeah, you didn't want to stop, I don't think. You were on your second or third gun, and it was working. So I think that was why you let's just keep rolling.
I had fun. I was like, it's working. It's a gun. Yeah, dude, open is fun. I get it now too. So open and PCC, I finally understand the divisions. So shooting with staff though, had you ever done that at a major or national event before?
That's my first major working.
Okay.
I got roped, as soon as I started shooting, I was on setup crew for our local match. Mm-hmm. And at first it was, to save a few dollars.
Sure.
And then it turned into they're calling you beforehand and relying on you. And just like everyone else, you look at each other, you're like, yeah, $20. We're saving $20 for all this work, And that's the joke at our club. But whatever, it's your buddies are relying on you. So you go and you set up and you try and make something better, So, I've been setting stages and doing being an RO locally for a long time. But that was my first major working at all.
Okay. What were your thoughts? That's a newbie perspective. I'm kind of curious of the whole thing. What were your thoughts being staff?
Well, again, I didn't think I would get in for shooting open. I didn't think I could earn a spot.
Sure.
To get into open. So because I don't shoot open, most of the clubs give it based on participation.
Right.
And I just didn't think I would get it. So I was like, well, this is my way in. It's my way to talk to everyone. Open and limited nationals. That's the biggest one. That's the one that everyone's going to be at. And at the same time, I'll keep the house. We'll just switch. I switched housemates halfway through the week.
Oh, I forgot you had to do that.
Some people left and went home. Some people stayed for both, and some people came in later. It was fun. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of work. It's 3 full days of work. But I met a lot of cool people. I had a blast shooting with staff.
Yeah. Our squad was the best staff squad. I know everybody says that, but no, ours was the best staff squad.
You can make it bad. You can make it good. You make your own mood.
You assholes made it great with the stupid stickers.
Yeah. The next day, everyone had them on them.
It's horrible.
That was a fun time. That was my first time meeting you, and I consider us good friends now. So
hell yeah,
that was a good time.
Yeah, no, so I've shot a lot of majors. I've worked 3 or 4 nationals now, low cap, high cap, 2-gun, all of that. But what's really cool is you were talking about earlier. So instead of squatting with super squad with friends, I know staff day you're still same rules. People think that the changes, no, but staff is just so much more relaxed and chill when your gun runs, but it's a different experience that I really do enjoy because it doesn't feel like you have all that pressure on you. You're just hanging out with friends. I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it sort of feels more like the local match where you allow everyone to call out targets and that sort of thing because everyone's ROs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you look around and it's like, oh, you are qualified to call out that target. I'm not used to this. We usually just call them out anyways.
Right.
But yeah, so it was much more low key than the prior weekend when it's nationals and everyone's on their side. And I was on squad 2, so I was right behind the super squad because I couldn't get on the super squad, but I could get on squad 2, so I'll be there. And it was just intimidating, on with a lot of really good shooters and trying to do what they could do, and I couldn't.
Yeah. Now, for you shot Da Vinci's, PCC, and then what open gun and dot do you shoot? You said you have the same dot, by the way, on both guns?
Yeah. So I run a Seymour. Here is my Da Vinci. And so I run the Seymour, regular big Seymour, like traditional reflex sight.
Yeah.
I just like the big open window. It's just a nice big round window, and it's what I'm used to. So it's big on an open gun. It's kind of old school, traditional open gun, but it's what I like. It's the same thing from one gun to the other. Yeah. And it works. Yep. I've got like 10 of them now on different guns.
I know. Once you find your thing, I have the same triggers. I have the same red dots. I'm like, stick to what you know, because it once you're at a different level or just you understand the gun, the dot, everything, it's like, don't change it. And then it's just easier to move from platform to platform, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that goes back to like, so I learned the CAD and I've got these dots and I've always wanted to have a cover. So I'll go back to the dot. I always wanted a cover that not only covered the lens, but also the emitter. This is where like the laser comes out. And everyone made a cover that snapped over the lens, but wouldn't cover this. Huh. And I'd call the people that did the 3D printing, and they'd say, oh, if you send me the file, I'll print it. And, well, I figured out that 3D printers aren't hard to figure out. And so I started 3D printing my own, covers. And so no one makes it for the Seymour except me. And it's a cover, and it covers the emitter and the dot and just does everything. And so one of those things that once you figure out, like the 3D, the CAD, that sort of thing,
you're good.
All of a sudden, 2 or 3 other things just fall right in your lap. The mount right here that the gun's on, that's another thing.
That's
it's
new,
pretty easy to figure out, 3D print it, and yep, that's all me too.
But that was new, right? Like that mount, I think I saw like not even a few days ago.
Yeah. I get back to just trying to come out with new stuff, something I could do. Mount, like the generic, there's a lot of people printing these, but like your 650 tool head holders and that sort of stuff. Just trying to keep the 3D printer going and make something.
Oh yeah. So how many inventions do you have or ideas do you have in the works right now in your brain?
In the brain, that's, I'm always coming up with new stuff. A lot of them are like, you're never going to be able to sell this. There's not even really a point to making it, but maybe write it down. And that's about as far as it gets. But yeah, sometimes new stuff. And, I wish I had more time and energy because I'd go down the rabbit holes further.
Do you have a inventor's journal that you do all this in?
No, I'm very unorganized. No. Short answer, no.
Sorry. Come on. Very unorganized.
I should.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Because I feel like with you, if something will pop in your head or you'll hear somebody's problem and then you should just go jot it down.
I should.
I'm going to get you a journal. Yeah. Going back to the ROs too, I'm just curious on your perspective after you put in all that work, right? How do you think more members should go volunteer to see the other side of shooting, or what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone should be working. If you're at a match and you're sitting down and like you're gonna eventually be squatted by yourself and not have anyone that wants to hang out with you. Honestly, I'm not the type of person that just like. I mean, you might find me having a conversation with someone and not focused that I need to be doing something. Someone might need to like, hey, reset and kick my butt. But at the same time, I'm not the person to just sit there and daydream. Like usually I'm actively engaged in something. It might be a conversation or resetting, ROing the tablet. But I feel like, pace to targets setting steel is almost as hard as running the tablet or running the timer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have to focus hard when you're running the timer, and you have to be, obviously qualified, and you have to know what to look at. And there's things like that a lot of people don't do right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times when you can get away with not doing it right. And
Nationals is not one of them.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, if you're not helping at some point in the match, you're not going to be around very long.
At least you'd hope.
Yeah.
Those people make me mad. How did your stage go?
Our stage went fantastic. I told our CRO that this was my first major ever, which might have been a mistake because he was like, not that anyone was overly, but everyone had pointers, had lots of tips and ways to do it. And that's great. I tried to listen and follow everything, but we did everything great. We didn't have one reshoot. So we had 4 guys that wanted to work. So we didn't sit anyone.
Yeah.
So we didn't have like a rester or anything. One guy was on the rake and we raked because we had like ankle deep gravel. So we raked it flat for every shooter. And but we made it equal for everyone. We didn't have one reshoot. We didn't have, we had a couple of calls where, they questioned my call and know that I looked at it again, made the call. And if they questioned again, said, would you like the CRO? And, and that was it. It was pretty easy just to pass it on,
Lucky.
Like just kind of brush it off and let it go.
Yep. Yeah. Meanwhile, we had like a couple reshoots, and then did you ever see the SIG blown out of the dude's hand where all that was left is just kind of a little bit of the lower?
So that's like one of my good friends, Jeff.
Dude, Jeff.
I shoot with him almost every weekend. Yeah.
Bro.
No, I know Jeff very well. I've held the parts since then, but no. That was an experience.
He won't share the video. Or I never got a chance to ask him for the video. I just wanted to see the video again. But dude, like for me, I've never had a nationals where we've had squibs that we've had to call, which was great. As we stopped that from blowing up, we've had the gun blow up. I've always had just like the craziest stuff happen on my stage. I'm like, cool. Cool. It's fantastic. So
yeah, we didn't have anything like that. I don't know why or I don't know. Were you on a double stage? You had 2 2 stages in one. I thought so. Yeah. That's where you were. Were you on like in the same pit as the first nationals?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw you on my way through PCC.
I'm just in 7th circle of hell on those little short stages because believe it or not, it was a little bit harder to run with double bass. I don't really like double bass. It's just chaotic.
Well, there's more to watch, and there's another person that could potentially shoot you. So.
Oh yeah, and then like one's up here, one's back here for the other match where it's like, but yeah.
Yeah, and you were on like the downrange one, yeah. Right, like this is the one that's a little safer, but you go here.
Oh, my life is in danger. Oh man. So outside of this, actually, I don't even know. What all do you do for full-time work?
So, my dad and I ran a construction and painting business for years. I mean, since I started, like when I was 12, I started painting houses in the summers and climbing ladders. And so I got out of high school and did a couple college things that didn't really keep me interested, and decided to go to work for Dad. And so after painting for a couple years, I was just like, I can't do this full time. I can't stand in front of a house and spray it all day long. And so I got into remodeling, and, you know, doing like kitchens and bathrooms, that sort of thing. And like, so I could just go off, do a job for 2-3 weeks at a time. And then, oh, Dad, I don't have anything tomorrow. Give me 8 hours of work and go to work for Dad. And so it was just great. You know, I didn't have to have full-time remodeling. And so I kind of expanded the business into that a little bit.
Nice.
And for, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, he retired. And so I just kind of took over everything and been doing that. Yep. So painting and remodeling.
Yeah.
It's very small. We've got it's pretty much all word of mouth. But, you know, we've been doing it in the same area for 30 years. So.
Oh yeah, it works.
Yep.
Yep. Now, what would it take? I know, like you talk about side hustles, because it took me a while to turn my side hustle into a full-time hustle, right? What would it take for Scheel Manufacturing to become that full-time work?
We're getting close, you know. Sales, you know, that's what it is. It's sales. It's and then being reliant on one product is tough. So, you know, money, you know, that's the number one thing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can always go back to painting and doing remodels. You know, I've taken time off before to pursue other things, and I can get right back into it. So that doesn't really scare me.
You could almost become that machine shop that you were looking for other businesses. Maybe.
I've got some things in the works. I'm hoping will pan out, and that's the idea.
Curious.
Instead of farming, you know, the things that I'm farming out right now, if I can start to bring that stuff in-house, and then all of a sudden the next idea is real easy to make and easy to make 10 of instead of having to buy 100. And that's the plan.
Yeah. So if there's one thing or a couple things that we as a shooting community can do to help you or your business other than sales and maybe word of mouth, I mean, that could definitely help. But what is something that we could do to help you grow or that you need help with?
You know, just try them. If you're at a match and you've never tried it out, just come talk to me and try it out. We've got lots of shooters, and everyone's got, you know, that's part of the deal.
2 to 3 firearms.
Part of the deal is, like, if I'm going to, you know, if you're going to be shooting for the team, you've got to be willing to do some demos. And, you know, everyone, you know, in the industry, pretty much everyone's willing to let you shoot their stuff anyways, generally anyways. So, if you see one, talk to them, ask them about it, ask them what they think. That's probably the best, you know.
Yeah.
You'll find out for yourself.
Yeah. You not even talk offline about putting that on your website so people could actually identify who those people are. But yeah, I like that. Come ask me, folks. I love my buffer system so much. So, and I can tell you what not to do with the 4th hole. No. So, okay, I had a question too. I didn't realize you were talking about 3-gun back in the day. Did you shoot other sports? Did you actually shoot 3-gun like at national level or majors or just locally?
So I've shot, I mean, I don't want to, yes, I've shot some 3-gun nationals, or, you know, majors or whatever, you know, mostly rock casting. Okay. That was the thing. So my friends, that was a big vacation that the group of guys that all set the match, same guys, you know, all did every year was they went to Rock Castle every year for the Pro-Am.
And get drunk.
And Sam, who was the match director until I took over, he won the amateur side a couple times. And, or he got like second place once. He won a couple guns anyways on the amateur side. And then he won it once. And he said, oh, I guess now I've got to switch to pro. And the match director said, I don't care what you do. And he was like, oh, okay. But so anyways, the next year he was like, okay, we're going to shoot the pro side. So then everyone that goes down on vacation is like, we can't squad on different squads and be on, because it's different stages and everything. It's basically 2 matches at the same time. It was. It's fun now. But so everyone switched to shooting the pro side because everyone's, you know, at least top half of the local stuff, and been doing it for a while. And so when I got roped into going, it was like, hey, but you got to shoot the pro side. I know this is your first year, but that's what you got to do. And so I shot it 2 years in a row. Because it ended. So I think it was like 2018, 2019, I believe.
Yeah, because I actually was going to go. And I remember 2019, I just started shooting 3-gun. And I was really intimidated by that match because I didn't have the physical strength and some of the distance with the rifle. So I was like, I'm going to go next year. Next year, gone. And I was like, cool. Literally, I remember talking to my buddy, like, can't go this year, can't go. I don't have, I'll waste ammo. And then it's gone. Yeah.
It was cool to go. I mean, there were 600-yard rifle shots that were just impossible.
Me. Yeah, that's
and I mean, they're not impossible now. I could, but is it worth the time? It still might not be worth the time for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm a gamer now. I figure out what the
put a shot on it and it counts.
I'm a hit factor guy.
Yeah.
But so it made me realize, like, you can shoot stuff that's beyond your ability and still do good. The first year I came home with a lot more prizes than what I spent to go.
That's cool.
And it was amazed first year there. And the second year prizes kind of went away. Mm-hmm. I did much better, worse on the prize table, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But,
that's a fun match.
Yeah. I shoot a decent amount of 3-gun locally. I just do better at PCC.
Yeah.
Like locally, if I'm not winning the match, usually I'm kind of bummed.
Right. Right.
In USPSA 3-gun, I don't know if I've ever won even a local 3-gun match.
That's hard to do. There's some really good shooters. Now, have you shot Steel Challenge or like sporting clays or other shooting disciplines as well?
I've got a clay pigeon thrower on a tire out back that we take and throw over the cornfield, and I'd never been to a sportsman's club until I started shooting USPSA. Oh. Like, all the shooting I'd done was 22s in the woods, but thousands of rounds throughout my childhood, but it was, just shooting them into the woods, just zinging them through the woods. And now I'm like, what? You're not shooting into a berm? And that's how we did it. And, but so my childhood, we threw shotgun clays into the air, and I learned to do that. I was kind of always decent at it, but never went to like the sportsman's club and learned how to do that.
Yeah.
I've done Steel Challenge once. I got roped into a setup crew on a Friday, like, hey, come down and set up, I'll set up Steel Challenge all day long, because it's like easy. 40 minutes to set up 5 stages and then shoot, And so, went and shot it once, and I got second place in the match. And, no one even knew who I was, because I only went there on like the Friday for setup crew, and me and 2 guys shot. But just no, not good at it. I don't know. If I had more weekends in the month, I'd do it.
Yeah. Okay, so other than 3-gun and PCC, is there some other sport, just curious, maybe in the long future, that you're like curious about trying, or something that intrigues you?
So I've tried to get into like the precision stuff. Mm-hmm. I bought a bolt action 17 WSM, which is like a 3,000 foot per. It's like a rimfire, but like a rimfire sniper rifle.
Yeah,
a big old scope, and like, okay, I'm gonna shoot the eyebrows off of this ant at 100 yards, or whatever. And I'm just not patient enough. If my most accurate guns were gas guns until I bought that, and I just, as soon as the sights sweep back across the target, I let another one rip, and that's how I've always learned. And I'm not a shoot the center out of a target kind of guy, so I don't think that the PRS is for me. Who knows what's down the line, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now, outside of shooting, what's something that most people don't know about you? What are some other like hobbies that you have?
I used to drag race when I was a kid. A junior drag race. Got a dog. I've got a dog named Ozzy. He's 4-year-old,
Oh,
half border collie, half poodle,
cute.
and my parents have his brother.
Oh,
So that's really cool. And we live together half the year. They go to Florida for the winter, but
oh,
in the summer we all live together until they sell me the house. They've been threatening to sell me the house for a while, the farmhouse. So that's the plan. So it's nice we can get, they live together for half the year, and yeah, they're really cool.
nice. Now, drag racing.
And barking. He's upstairs right now, being nice.
That's awesome. Drag racing, though, I mean, that makes sense because you were able to tinker a little bit even then as a kid, like on cars, you kind of understood them.
Yes, and I mean, I'm so blessed. My dad is not a mechanical tinkerer,
Not either.
anything like that. My dad's a musician, and and like probably like a more of an artist painter than like a construction guy. Just kind of. My mom's more of the mechanical person. She's a numbers person, and that's where I don't know if I learned it from her or got it from her. But I've always been very mechanically inclined, and they saw it in me early. And so my friend did this junior drag racing, this kind of like go-karts, but on a drag strip, and my good friend did it, and I was, in elementary school with, and I got into it through him, and did that for 3 or 4 years, and just had a great time, learned a lot of mechanical stuff, and just had a good time.
Are you a car guy as well?
Yeah, well, then that turned into the whole, I told you, like, I was in the Fast and the Furious, soup up your Honda Civic stuff. I have a Nissan 300ZX that I've. It's not even. I tried to drag race it, and it's not a drag racing car, and so it's souped up beyond where you want to try to drive it on this road. But it's not good enough to really go and win anything on the drag strip either.
Solid.
So it's in this weird spot where it just sits in the driveway. And I look at it. I'm like afraid to I don't want to drive it. I don't want to sell it. It's in this like limbo. But yeah, I did that, and then I got into drag racing motorcycles.
Jesus.
And more like building them than racing them. I actually never got into the racing as much as building them.
It's probably a good thing.
It's always been mechanical. Yeah,
it's probably a good thing. 2 wheels is a little bit scary. I like motorcycle riding, have my license, but I'd probably die.
Yeah. I mean, I love riding on the road. I'll get my knees in the breeze and cruise around at 40 miles an hour on an old little Honda 350 all day long, and I'm happy with that. I don't need to go. I'd be dangerous. I know the limits.
Yeah, cool. Well, I have a couple more questions. What's on your schedule for this year in 2022, and what are the goals that you're kind of looking forward to setting for yourself this year?
Oh, so I'll shoot. I'm going to the first match of the year. I think is going to be Area 6.
April. Okay.
And yeah.
Oh, we're on the same squad. I forgot about that, dude. That's gonna be hype.
I did too.
That squad is gonna be badass. Oh my god.
That would be cool. I've got a busy April actually. I've got 3 majors in April, which will be like the first 3 matches of my year. Also, like matches don't start around here until April or May, and so it'll be Area 6. Then there's there's something else in April. I know there's a South Carolina section match at the end of April.
Yep.
I'll be going to there. Da Vinci's a sponsor there, and they asked if I wanted to go for that. So we've got a Da Vinci house. So like an Airbnb. So that should be a good time for everyone down there. So I'll be at Area 5, Area 8, Nationals, of course. I've already got my house. As soon as Nationals ended this year, I was like, the Airbnb thing is the way to go. So this is the first time I've done it, and so much better than rooms. I've traveled to many major matches, and we get 6 rooms at the Days Inn or the Hotel 6, or even if it's a nice hotel, you're still stuck in your own room. Yeah. At 8:30, you're looking at each other like, do we sit around on each other's beds and watch Friends reruns, or do we go? And like having a house was so nice.
Different.
It was a lake house, so we had decks and docks, and it was great.
Yep.
So that's what we've got for the South Carolina match.
Nice.
And nationals, and I've got 4 or 5 planned for this year, so that'll be fun. There's a couple of Ohio big matches. The Battle for the North Coast, one of the better matches around here. It's a really good one. The Buckeye Blast is a good one.
Yeah.
Western PA section match, I'll be working that. I'm absolutely roped into working that one.
You sounded
Everyone
sad.
else I've like got up with just being a stage sponsor. I've signed on to be stage sponsors for like 8 or 10 matches this year.
I'm working one so far, and everybody else is. There's people that's been asking me, and I'm like, no, like I'll decide later, but no, like I'm good. I work a lot of matches. Like last year, I think it was like 90% of the ones I shot, I worked. So yeah.
Well, and when you sponsor it, you get a spot.
Yeah.
And so mostly that's my spot.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the reason why I sponsor it. It's because I'm already going to be spending the money on the spot. And, you know, and I want to, you know, grow my name, grow the sport, everything else.
Yeah.
But so now it's really hard to get me to sign up just to be staff because I've already got my spot.
Don't do it. I recommend not. Oh, man. Now, are you setting goals for yourself? Do you have any expectations for this year?
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to do what I did in 2020, and you know, like 25th place nationals, 2nd place at an area match, a couple things like that would be great. I really just need to buckle down and focus on the shooting instead of. I think for the last year, my head has been inside the gun, thinking about like what spring is moving and what roller's doing what and everything every time the trigger gets pulled. And if I can get back to shooting, I think I can be good.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Corey, are there any final thoughts that you want to leave people with?
You know, write down your goals. Okay. I get it. If I can, that's one of the biggest things. When I started writing down my goals, I started accomplishing them. You know, it's easy to have things in your head, but when you actually put it on paper, it becomes a little more real. And it's amazing how that little step, you know, I didn't believe it for a long time. And I'd have goals in my head for 2, 3, 4 years. And as soon as it went down on a piece of paper, 6 months later, it's crossed off.
Yeah.
And write it down.
So, Corey, what would happen if you wrote down your ideas or the things that are in your head or your inventions? Kenzi's calling you out. You got, there's like 5 revenue streams just sitting in your head that could be accomplished in 6 months.
I need like 2 or 3 clones. That's what I need.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. Awesome. Okay, and then the final stuff is just how can people find you on social media, and then what's your business website?
So my Instagram is Corey Scheel 3gun underscore or like Corey underscore Scheel underscore 3gun. Facebook's just Corey Scheel. I also have a Scheel manufacturing or Scheel MFG on Facebook. And the website is scheelmfg.com. SCHEEL MFG.
Awesome. Corey, thanks for coming on. Finally, I took you a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. I know. We should have done this 2 months ago.
Told you. Hey, I wrote it down though, so I made it happen.
Absolutely.
Love it. Cool. I will see you. I guess at Area 6 to start off with, and you know, for you folks listening, seriously, support the guys that are supporting us. Support the little guys that have big dreams, right? You know, I know you've got tried and true stuff out there, but I promise you, if you shot my PCC or his or anything, there's stuff in your head that changes, and it really is neat. So yeah, there you go. And get yourself a hat.
Yeah,
our best friends get it. I love it. All right, guys, stay tuned for the next episode of the Reticle Up Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Reticle Up Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow along on social media at Reticle Up or 3gun Kenzie.